All right, hello. It's another week of coronavirus online learning brought to you by Mr. Nelson. I hope you're having a good time. Keeping yourselves occupied. It's nice weather. Hopefully you're going outside, but not near people. So I don't know, doing something productive. What I want to do this week is I want to walk through what we learned about the AP test and kind of discuss it a little bit more, and then outline what I want to do for the next couple weeks as we approach the AP test. It's right around the corner, and so that's what I want to discuss. So the first thing that we need to address is I got an email from College Board asking me to review with you guys what students have actually re-registered. Most of you guys already registered, but then after coronavirus, they must have sent a bunch of you emails and said that you need to log in just to confirm that you're going to be testing from home or something like that. So it was like a survey, and they gave me a sheet of people who's actually done it. So I'm going to post that right now so you guys can see it. All right, so there you see it on my screen. Those students who have responded currently are planning to take a test. They have a list there, and then everybody else is kind of in this unknown category. Like I said, I didn't get the email. I don't know what it actually asked you to do, but somewhere you were asked to confirm that you're going to be taking the test, and these are the people who have not confirmed that they have taken the test. So what I'm going to encourage all of you guys to do is go into your emails, find it, and then do whatever it tells you to do to confirm it. And I will check this next week to see who's changed and update everyone and continually remind you who's out there. But yeah, we need to take care of that. The AP test for you guys is May 20th at 11 o'clock. If you look at the website, we fall under the Pacific time for them. We're really mountain time, but Arizona, so we don't do, daylight savings, whatever. But for them, we're Pacific time. That's 11 o'clock. I think you've got to log in and be ready to go right at 11. I don't think they're giving you a whole lot of playtime. And like I said, after the test, you have 5 minutes to upload it. So you got to be ready to go at 11. And I think they're going to be pretty strict about it. So set your alarm or whatever you got to do. I'll continually remind you. If that seems too complicated, I just want to remind you that there are no times set for like Japan or Australia or China or any of these other places that are taking these same tests. So, yeah, 11 o'clock might not be convenient, but at least it's not 2 o'clock in the morning like the Japanese kids are going to have to take it. So May 20th, 11 o'clock, and make sure you're ready to go. Also want to talk about the AP tests you guys all took. I've graded all those. I've submitted the responses back to you. You've had an opportunity to look at them if you cared. You should see there your score, comments that I made throughout your essay. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. I'm here to help out in whatever way I can. If you want to redo it, go ahead. I'll help you out in whatever way I can. This is all practice. This is all trying to make you better. So I'll do whatever I can to encourage you to write more. But for the most part, you guys did pretty well. It was that piece on Gandhi. And, one of the things that we're focusing on was getting that sophistication point and actually reaching some deeper, more complex understanding of what's happening. Some of you guys got there. More than in the past, but a lot of you guys are still not there all the way. Look, it's important to understand the context of the situation. You guys actually know the end result of this, right? We look back at this and we know Gandhi was successful, that India is not part of the British Empire anymore. So we know ultimately that he was successful, but imagine he's writing this letter on the eve of this protest, to the governor, essentially, the person in charge of the British Empire in India, and he's essentially saying, look, we're marching, and, I intend to be nonviolent, I intend to be peaceful, but this is going to happen. And he kind of gives them an ultimatum and, encourages the British government to meet him halfway. But we all know that they aren't going to do that, right? We all know that, this idea that you're going to change a government without force, it seems kind of naive. Some of you guys are actually talking about that, right? What it might be like for Gandhi to write this letter, knowing it's not going to be received, knowing that essentially all he's doing is putting the British government on notice, so that when they wonder what went wrong many months down the road, they'll have this letter, be able to look back and be like, oh, he told us what was inspiring all this. He told us why it wasn't going to go away. Some of you guys talked about that. And that's really where that whole soapstone thing that I forced you guys to do all year really comes into play, because if you're analyzing, speaker, audience, occasion, all those sorts of things, you really start to understand what this letter's trying to do, how successful it might be, and then you can break it down talking about all the rhetorical devices, ethos, pathos, all that stuff that you want to talk about, but you'll actually have the context, you'll have the deeper understanding, and you can weave all that rhetorical analysis in throughout this larger theme, and that's how you get the sophistication point. So read my comments. Let me know if you got any questions. Feel free to redo it if you want to. I'll help you out in whatever way I can. The second thing I'm going to say, and this might come across as a rant, I don't know, but capitalization. So for the most part, you guys are pretty good at typing. I feel like the responses on these essays are better than when you handwrite them. So I feel like you're thinking more clearly when you're typing. But some of you have a problem with capitalization. And I don't know how to say this more bluntly, but it's distracting and it makes you look juvenile. How about that? Look, these essays are meant to be rough drafts. So if you don't capitalize after a period one time, I'm not sweating it. I'm really not. I'm moving past it. If you don't capitalize Gandhi one time, I get it. You're typing fast. You're not paying attention to it. If you never capitalize Gandhi, if you never capitalize the first word of a sentence, first letter of a sentence, that moves beyond simply carelessness and rough draft era and moves into laziness, and that's not what you want the grader to understand about you after they've read your essay. There are moments, there are small things in your life that you're going to realize that for a small amount of effort really pay off in the long run. And I'm going to tell you, capitalization is one of those. I don't care what you do when you text. I don't really care what you do when you email. But when you're writing something for someone else to read that you don't know, you got to pay attention to some of this, right? And like I said, you can misspell a couple words. But the amount of effort that goes into capitalizing the first letter of the word or capitalizing Gandhi for the benefit that you get, there's just no reason not to do it. And so as an English teacher, as someone who loves English and one of the people likely grading your essays, let me just say that's like a big no-no in my place to consistently not capitalize anything. So that's the other thing I got to say in way of understand what's going on. Let's talk a little bit about what I want to do this week and next week. As far as I see it, there's 2 weeks left in the school year, really. There's this week, and then next week would be the last real week before AP start, and I don't feel like it's right to give you any instruction or talk to you at all during that period of time unless you want to. So really, this is the last week of real assignments. So I want to give you one reading assignment and one AP practice test this week. Not another full essay, but just kind of practice. And then next week, I want to set that up for more review than anything else. And I think what I'll do is I'll record like a long lecture of everything I think you need to worry about, and then maybe have a live chat of some sort if you have questions or last minute discussions, and we'll just kind of go from there. I'll also open up the test bank so you can see every question that was ever asked in the AP test, and those of you who want to write sample essays and have me grade them, I'd be happy to do that. So that's what I want to do for the next week. So for this week, I got one reading assignment. I was, like I've told you before, I enjoy giving you these assignments. These are all things that I think we should read. So the reading assignment is by Henry Kissinger. If you recall, we talked about him briefly when we were reading the Hunter S. Thompson piece, right? Remember Hunter S. Thompson followed Nixon around, and when Nixon died, he wrote this letter just ridiculing Hunter S. Thompson. I gave it to you because I wanted you guys to see vituperation and somebody kind of destroying someone. So I gave that to you, and we talked about Henry Kissinger at the time. Henry Kissinger's been around forever, it seems like. It's very, very significant figure in American history. Not to say he's a good person or a bad person, I'm not passing judgment, but he's certainly significant. He lived during the Vietnam War. He was, National Security Advisor to Nixon and Secretary of State. So he played a big role in American politics and in American foreign diplomacy in the 1960s, 70s. He's still alive. I don't know how old he is. He must be freaking 100 years old, but he's still alive and still bouncing around and still coherent, right? Dementia hasn't taken away his mind. And he's actually alive during this period of time in the pandemic where he can actually comment on things. He is a very controversial figure. I take everything he says with a grain of salt, but that doesn't mean that I ignore what he says. And so the article I'm going to give you is where he's actually commenting on the long-term effects this pandemic's going to have on international diplomacy, right? On the world stage. How does this affect everything afterwards? And what I'm going to encourage you to do is to do a little bit of background research on Henry Kissinger first, then read this piece. So I kind of want you to form an opinion about him or get an idea of what you think about him first, then read this piece. And what I want you to do is write an introductory paragraph for a potential essay on how credible you believe Kissinger is on this topic. And what I'm trying to practice right now is the first part of that 6-part oration, right? The exordium, the narration, and the thesis, where you're actually kind of outlining what you want to say. And I want to focus on that thesis and make sure that you have a credible point, a defensible thesis that articulates in the direction you're going to go, particularly on Henry Kissinger, right? Article's interesting as far as getting his viewpoint on where we're going to go, but in particular, I want you to focus on him, on the person himself, such a controversial figure, still alive today, still commenting on the world stage. I promise you, when he writes a letter in the Wall Street Journal, every significant diplomat, foreign actor is paying attention to it. You know, he just kind of carries that weight, good or bad, like I said. So Kissinger, I encourage you to read it and then just submit that assignment. So the second thing I'm going to have you do is another AP practice test. Once again, this is just to get you familiar with the format so we stay kind of, focused on what we're kind of driving towards at this period of time. It's a interesting piece. I guess lighthearted is the way I kind of describe it more than anything else. It's not talking about Vietnam War or pandemics or anything, all that grave. It's talking about owls. Who doesn't like owls? Very descriptive. The language, the diction in it is very interesting. And what I want you to do on that one is, once again, focus on that introductory paragraph. What I'm trying to do, like I already said, is just practice the skills that we really need. And those introductory paragraphs are so critical to outlining the direction the essay is going to go. That's what I want to focus on this week. So introductory paragraph, give me some context, give me some background, and then give me a thesis that outlines exactly where you're going to go with it and what points you're going to make, and let me know what you're going to do. And then that's it, really. Read 2 assignments, write 2 paragraphs, and I'll give you all the credit for this week. And then we'll start to move on to the next week and getting ready for the AP test. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I'm around. I think I've responded to every question anybody's had. If you want to know a little bit more about your grade, let me know. I did notice an error in your grade. If you saw your grade in the last week or so, it might have been lower than you were anticipating. That's because I had total points wrong on one of the reading assignments, and I fixed that, and so it raised most of your guys' grade by 1 or 2 percentage points. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to help.